It's Friday evening, and the park residence is lit before Evan arrives. Every window glowing, every curtain aligned, every light positioned to flatter power. He sits in his car, engine off, dashboard clock illuminated. 6:59 p.m. He watches the seconds change, not impatient, not hesitant, waiting. 7 p.m. He opens the door, steps out. The estate doors are already open. He enters exactly on time. Mr. Park stands in the sitting room, hands clasped behind his back, watching the entrance.
You're late.
Evan removes his coat.
It's 7.
His father checks the wall clock.
That's still late.
There it is. Not about minutes, about precedence. Evan almost smiles. Almost. Mrs. Park rises. Silk, pearls, composure without warmth. Hyojin, you must be exhausted. Concern shaped like expectation. Jade's parents stand nearby, immaculate, smiling, observing. Jade sits on the sofa, legs crossed, hands folded, ivory against dark upholstery, already placed, as if she has always belonged here. Evan, it's been too long.
That's too long.
Evan inclines his head.
Work has been demanding.
Mrs. Park hums faintly. Yes, for all of us. The implication settles. You are absent from family obligation. They begin moving toward the dining room. Not guided, arranged. Evan walks last, deliberately. The table is set with military precision. Every plate identical, every glass aligned, every napkin folded at the same angle. White, silver, crystal. Nothing personal. Everything perfect. Seats are indicated. No one asks. Planned, contained. Jade smiles as she sits. She has been waiting for this arrangement. Dinner begins. Courses arrive in seamless succession. No one thanks the staff. They are invisible.
Your grandfather loved this room. He said it reminded him of Europe.
Mr. Park says. Mrs. Choi nods. Legacy has taste. Mrs. Park sips her wine. And responsibility, she says with a charming smile. She looks at Evan. You're carrying it well. Praise, wrapped in expectation. Mr. Choi leans forward.
We were just telling Mr. Park how proud we are of Jade.
Jade lowers her gaze. Father, she's been so adaptable. Mrs. Choi continues. Consulting, advisory, strategic partnerships. So rare. Mrs. Park agrees. A woman who understands both influence and discretion. Jade smiles. A practiced blush. Evan stares at his plate. Mrs. Park turns to him. You remember when you and Jade were children? She begins. Of course he does. You were inseparable. Always together. We thought, Mrs. Choi adds lightly, it was fate. A laugh. Soft, polite, preordained. Jade glances at Evan. Do you remember the garden parties? She asked. You used to follow me around everywhere. He meets her eyes.
I remember being 10.
He says with a nonchalant irritation. Everyone laughs, except him. Jade has been very helpful lately, Mrs. Park says, stirring her soup, offering perspective. Jade tilts her head modestly. I just want what's best for everyone. Evan keeps eating. She understands legacy, Mrs. Park continues, how things are meant to be preserved. Mr. Park nods.
Stability matters.
Evan finally looks up.
So does merit.
A pause. Not rude, but noticeable. Mrs. Park smiles. Of course. Ideally, one has both, Mrs. Park says. Jade's mother laughs softly. You two always had such strong opinions, she says fondly, even in school. Jade glances at Evan. Remember that debate competition? She said. You refused to yield even when you were wrong.
I wasn't wrong,
Evan says. She laughs. See? Surface conversations drag on. Travel, markets, renovations, and again, legacy. The word lingers longer than it should. Then Mrs. Park sets down her spoon. The spring gala is next month. Stillness. It is our largest social obligation. Mr. Park nods.
Investors have been asking about secession.
Mrs. Park looks at Jade. Continuity reassures people. Then to Evan. An engagement announcement would do that beautifully. There it is, placed like porcelain. Evan does not react immediately. He sets down his glass, carefully.
I'm not agreeing to anything.
Calm. Jade's fingers brush his hand. Public softness. He removes his hand, not abruptly, deliberately. Mrs. Park's smile tightens. No one is forcing you. Preparation, not pressure. The distinction is cultural.
That will be the end of this discussion.
A boundary, not a promise. Mrs. Choi shifts gently. Regarding the gala, she says, we thought something symbolic might be appropriate this year. Jade brightens slightly. Something historical, she says. Something about legacy and continuity. Mrs. Park nods slowly. And a theme. The order of inheritance. Evan's fork steals. He looks at his mother.
What does that mean?
Mrs. Park folds her hands lightly on the table. It means recognizing that influence is not accidental. It is built, preserved, and passed down. Mr. Park nods once.
Stewardship, not ownership. Stewardship.
Mrs. Choi smiles. Families who build institutions don't just build wealth. They build structure, stability, direction. Jade leans slightly forward. We thought the evening could reflect generational roles. Founders, heirs, stewards, builders. Mrs. Park continues smoothly. Guests will be invited to dress in ways that reflect legacy roles. Old houses, new houses, founders, successors, symbolic attire, nothing theatrical, nothing vulgar. Elegant interpretation, not costume, representation. Jade adds. Mrs. Park nods. A reminder that inheritance is not just money. It is responsibility, position, expectation. Evan sets his fork down.
This still sounds like performance.
Everything at our level is performance. The difference is whether one performs with dignity. He looks at her.
And who decides what dignity looks like?
Mrs. Park meets his eyes without hesitation. History usually does. Silence settles over the table again. Then Mr. Choi asks casually,
Who will represent Park Industries?
Mrs. Park answers smoothly, the CEO. Not heir, CEO, which means Naomi. Jade smiles faintly. How progressive. A compliment with teeth. Evan understands. Not the theme, the target. He folds his napkin.
I won't be attending the gala.
Silence. Not shocked, but heavy. Mrs. Park studies him. You're reconsidering tradition?
I'm reconsidering performance, especially if the performance is meant to remind people where they belong.
No one speaks.
I won't participate in theater, especially not if it costs someone their dignity.
He does not say Naomi's name. He doesn't need to. Mr. Park's voice cools.
Seojin.
But Evan stands, bows slightly, respectfully, controlled, then leaves. No slam, no spectacle, just absence. The table remains still. Mrs. Park stares at the empty chair. He chose her, she says quietly. Jade smiles. Then we adjust, and somewhere in the estate, a clock continues ticking toward the gala. On the other side of town, the office is nearly empty by the time Caleb arrives. Lights dimmed, hallways quiet, voices reduced to echoes. Naomi is still at her desk, blazer draped over her chair, hair loosened, shoes slipped off beneath the desk. Paige stands beside her with a tablet. You've been here since 6, Paige says gently. You should at least pretend to rest. Naomi smiles faintly. I will, she promises. In 10 minutes. Paige doesn't believe her. A knock. Controlled. Professional. Caleb steps inside. Suit jacket gone. Sleeves rolled up. Tie loosened. Less formal. More human. Miss Ellison, he says. Naomi stands. Mr. Hahn, thank you for coming in so late. Please, he replies. Call me Caleb. She hesitates, then nods. Caleb. Paige watches this exchange carefully, like a guardian assessing risk. They sit, documents spread, quiet focus. For a while, it is only work. Legal language, risk assessment, timeline. Caleb moves quickly, precise, prepared. You handled this well, he says after an hour. Most people panic. I don't have time for that, Naomi replies. He studies her. That's not strength, he says softly. That's survival. She blinks, then looks away. Paige checks the clock. It's almost 9, she says. Naomi sighs. Go home, she tells her. You've done enough. I can stay, Paige insists. I know, Naomi replies. That's why you shouldn't. A pause. And I'll be on my phone, Paige adds quickly. All weekend, anytime. Naomi laughs. You're very sweet. Paige straightens. Someone has to be on your side, she says firmly. Caleb watches this, quietly impressed. When Paige leaves, she nods once at him, a silent warning and a silent trust. The room feels different after, looser, more personal. Caleb closes his folder. That's everything urgent, he says. The rest can wait. Naomi exhales. Thank God. They sit in the quiet, for the first time not working, just existing. Her stomach betrays her, soft, unmistakable. She freezes. Caleb smiles. Hungry? Yes, she admits. Very. He checks his phone. There's a place downstairs still open. What kind of place? She asks. He considers. Comfort food, pretending to be fancy. She laughs. Perfect. They eat at the small table by the window. Takeout containers, paper napkins, plastic forks. No boardroom, no politics. Just food. Caleb orders for both of them. I took a guess, he says. She takes a bite, pauses. Her eyes widen slightly. This is really good. He relaxes. I hope so. They eat, slowly, talking, not about work. What do you do when you're not here? Caleb asks. She thinks. I volunteer, she says. Tutoring, food banks, a shelter on weekends sometimes. Why? He asks. Because someone did it for me, she replies, and I never forgot. He nods. Do you ever rest? Sometimes, she says. I read, I run, I visit my parents. A smile. They still worry like I'm 12. He chuckles. Mine too. A pause. I just want you to know, he says quietly. There are more people rooting for you than against you, he continues. They're just quieter. She looks at him. That lands. Her voice softens. Thank you for saying that, Caleb. It means more than you know. She studies him now. Well, tell me about you, she says. He hesitates, then shrugs. I work too much, obviously. I like quiet, he adds. Books, late walks, my parents' garden. She smiles. That sounds perfect. It is, he says. When I let it be. What about your parents? She asks. Are you trying to get to know me, Miss Ellison? He smiles. Yes, I like to know my allies, she says. Caleb leans closer. Hopefully, you can call me a friend someday, he says. Naomi doesn't move, but she welcomes the invitation. Why not? One can always have a good friend. She agrees while taking another bite. They laugh. Well, my parents, what can I say? He begins. My father is wealthy, always has been. He comes from a line that has been rich almost as long as the Parks. Naomi's eyes narrow. And your mother? She asks. He smiles fondly. My mother is my world. She was not born into this. She was an actress. She met my father and the rest is history. He says, rushing through the last part. Naomi notices, but doesn't pry. Their eyes meet. Hold. Not charged. Warm. Real. Time passes. Midnight approaches unannounced. Empty containers. Cold tea. Soft laughter. Comfort. Caleb watches her flip through a document absent-mindedly. hair falling into her face, sleeves rolled up, focused even when tired. And something shifts, not sudden, not dramatic, just recognition. Admiration turning into care, care becoming something dangerous. He looks away first. You should go home, he says gently. So should you, she replies. They stand, collect their things, reluctantly. At the door he pauses. I'm glad I'm working with you, he says. Me too, she replies. Sincere. How about I walk you to your car? He replies. All right, she says. As they walk, their heart settles, mind conflicted, and he thinks to himself, because he came here to protect a client and is leaving, wanting to protect a woman. Across town, Evan drives through empty streets, thinking about Naomi, not knowing she is laughing, not knowing she is safe, not knowing someone else is learning how extraordinary she is. And that ignorance will cost him. If love that doesn't rush speaks to you, stay with us. The story is still unfolding. Like and subscribe for more.